I've been wanting to take you on a tour of my studio for a really long time, but every time I got ready to do it, I would think, you know what? I'll wait until the studio is cleaner. I'll wait until these boxes are out of here. I'll wait until I finish this big project so I can show that, you know, all the things. But it's an art studio. It's always going to be in a state of transition. So I think there's no better time than now to take you on a little bit of a tour. I think the best place to start would be my desk setup. So this is my desk where I do all of my drawing, admin, and social media work. And I like to do most of my clients' social media work here on my iPad, and I do a lot of my drawing on my iPad as well. So this is what I use most often. This is just an iPad Air 4 with the Apple Pencil and the keyboard. And then I have this computer. It's a Y2K Apple Tower that has been gutted, and a gaming PC has been put inside of it. And it's amazing. It's awesome. It was a gift to me from my husband last year for Christmas. And I love this thing because I am a Mac person, but having a PC is helpful in the studio because I have the Design Init software, and which has a steep learning curve, and I'm not perfect with it yet, but it works the best on PC. So it's really nice to have a PC available that I can use for Design Init and for any kind of cozy gaming that I want to do. So I do have one PC in the studio that I use. And I wanted my whole computer setup to have sort of a like middle school, high school vibe to it because I'm mature like that. And so when I was in middle school and high school, I used to draw on jeans all the time. So I took some jeans and I cut them up and sewed them together and made this desk mat. And that way when I'm like on the phone or I'm waiting for something to load on the computer, I can just doodle. And I have all my little pens in this little dude. So I have all my different little Sharpie pens here, and I can just boop, 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 scribble. And my keyboard is the same colors as like a makeup case I had in middle school too. Then here I have my notebook. I made this ages and ages ago, but it's got these googly eyes all over it on both sides. And you can tell I just have strings holding them together, holding all the paper in there, so I can make it as big as I want. And this holds just like, you know, there's some notes I have for my clients that are paper-based, and I have some like paper in here to scribble down different notes and plans and stuff like that. So I keep most of my important notes and everything in my iPad, but sometimes you do need paper to scribble stuff down and make some notes. That's what I use that for. Beneath my desk, I have dog beds with my 3 puppies. So I have right here Daisy, and then Rocket and Tulip. And they love working underneath my desk because the radiator is right there. See, it's right above. And it's nice and warm and cozy. So they just snuggle up underneath the desk. They're my studio pups. I love them. And I have this huge desk. So if I need to sew, I have my whole sewing setup right here. So I can sew or iron or just sort of spread out my work right here. The computer is connected to my knitting machines. I have this epic chair from a estate sale. Most of the things you're going to find in here are secondhand, including that. So here are my knitting machines that I keep set up in the studio. I have 5 total, but these are the 2 that I use the most. This one is from the 80s. It has a 6-color changer, and it's computerized. So you can see that it's connected to my computer over here. And then underneath here, I have the ribber, but I keep it covered because I was working on just the main bed recently, and I don't want the knitting to get caught on all the little pegs right here, which doesn't happen often, but it helps a little bit to keep it clean. Under this knitting machine, I have a loom because one of the projects I'm going to do this year is connect the loom to the knitting machine. It's going to be really interesting. I'm going to weave a complex pattern with the knitting machine. It'll be interesting. We will see if we can get it to work, but that's the plan. The crate that it's sitting on is something I found in my house, and that is my selection of spray paints, because I do spray painting sometimes. So I keep that all ready to go right here in this little crate. All ready to go. Hi, Tulip. Doo-doo-doo. And of course, we have a little selection of dog toys to keep them happy. So on this knitting machine, I have this yarn tension unit. You can see the mast right there. It's 6 colors, so it's a lot. And they go down behind the machine. So I have this little space back here behind the machine, and that's where I keep them. A lot of people will put the yarn on cones for the knitting machine, but I prefer the cakes because I just really like using Knit Picks yarn. It comes in a ton of colors and it's affordable. And so I just cake it up and then put it on these little yarn things, and it just pulls it up on the machine. It's so many colors that it works really best if they have a far distance to go to get up to the yarn tension unit. So keeping them down on the floor tends to work really well. Above that, I have my other knitting machine. This one is from the late 50s, early 60s. It's the first machine I got. And I use like this little swan and bird ceramic things I found at the thrift store to hold the yarn while I'm working. And then to keep this yarn for the 80s machine from getting stuck on the machine from the 50s, I have this little piece of fabric here just to keep them from getting caught on all the little pegs right here. Also behind the knitting machine, I have my sock knitting machine that I 3D printed, which it's my goal this year to get this really fine-tuned because it works, but I just need to spend some more time with it to really, really perfect the spacing and everything so it'll work well. And I also now need to rebuild the tension mast because it broke not too long ago, so I have to repair that and then get it tuned up and working. So that's on the list for this year. I have this vintage locker here, and in there is all of my other spray paints and the filament for my 3D printer, which I keep over here right next to the computer. And it's nice and protected so it doesn't get bumped around too much while it's working. Oh, this is for, I get asked about this sometimes. This is an armature waiting to become a portrait sculpture. So it's it's kind of a lazy Susan that it's on. So that's something that I'm looking forward to doing more of. And then I have my F for faith. So on the other side of this little space, I have my easel. I love this easel. I got it from an artist I knew who was moving out of the country. But what's so awesome about this H-frame easel, let me get down and show you, is it's got a peg that holds it in place. So it's not held on based on tension, you know, or little screws or anything. It's just this tab over here. This block of wood just goes through the horizontal section and into these tabs here. And it goes really, really tall. So I love this easel. It's the best easel. Here's where I keep my yarn stash. So all the candy containers contain the yarn I like to use in my knitting machine projects. And the yarn in the bottom bins, I don't know, maybe I need to de-stash them because those are ones that are different weights that I can use for different hand knitting projects. And I like clear containers because you can, when you're looking for a color, you can see it, but they're also completely contained and protected from dust or dog fur or anything like that. So I really like the clear containers to hold the yarn. It makes it a lot faster. On this side and the other side of the studio, I have these acrylic little picture rails. And I bought these on Amazon, so these were a new purchase that I made. But what I love about them is that, like, I can just lean things up here and it doesn't detract from the piece. You can see all the way down to the bottom. They're great because I can move my art around a lot, which I like to do. But like I said, I'm pretty bare right now because everything's ready for exhibition. On the shelf, I have different like fabrics for projects that I make. This holds all my knitting and crochet supplies, like all the needles and the hooks and everything. I have some more fabric, interfacing, sewing machine, overlooker, all that stuff is in here. I have one of my spinning wheels here. I don't do a ton of spinning, but I do know how, and it is really fun. And this sweet machine, this gorgeous like spinning wheel, was available at an estate sale for only $30. And it works, and it's so charming, and it's so beautiful, and I just had to take it home with me. Even if I didn't keep it forever, I had to rescue it. I couldn't help myself. Above my spinning wheel and next to my containers that hold my knitting stuff, I have this cute little mushroom holder here. And in it, I keep these little, like I have like Polaroids with notes for all the different like types of pieces I make on the knitting machine, so that I know exactly like what my settings were. So instead of like keeping like a pattern book or something like that, I keep these little cards and I like stuff them in here. And that's when, you know, so when I need to go back and be like, wait, what was the setting I used on the machine? I can just look over there, look at the Polaroid picture and see what my settings were. This is a new piece that I got from an estate sale. It's a drafting table, and I use it to wind up all my yarn. So I have my umbrella here and my yarn baller over here. This is the Stanwood. I love this yarn baller. It works fantastic. And then under here, I have different books, reference books that I need, lots of knitting, some anatomy books, stuff like that. And including these workbooks. So my knitting machine came with these 1980s workbooks. And the previous owner had finished a couple lessons, but didn't finish the book. So they finished some things, like this red one and these, but they didn't finish everything. So I went ahead and started finishing up the lessons. These were ones that they had done, but they didn't do this one. And then I did all these notes. So it's been really fun to go back through and study in this book. You can see this was published in 1985. So I'm working my way through those lessons. This is a mess. These are frames for the exhibition that's coming up. So I have some pieces I have to frame once the prints get in here. And then this is what's going to be like a little free library, but it's a little free art center. So on this side, I'm going to have gallery space so people can drop off artwork, pick up artwork, that kind of thing. And then on this side, I'm going to have take one, leave one art supplies. So people get little markers, crayons, papers, things like that, they can put in here, and then they can pick out something. So you can see it's starting to get decorated. It has some little pipes in there. And then I also have a whole bunch of little miniatures that I made that need to be painted and then glued into the art center. So this is a desk that'll be in there. So this is a little desk that'll be in there. I have some ladders that'll be put on the outside. All sorts of different little miniature pieces that will be in there. Some pedestals for the exhibition space. Things like that. It'll be really cute. I'm hoping to do fewer like exhibitions next year. So with that, I should have time to finish some of these projects that aren't done or these things that I want to experiment with, because I feel like, you know, I don't know, I just artistically need some time to experiment and be free. And so this is one of the projects that I'm really excited to spend some more time on and get wrapped up, because I'm inspired to do it and I want to do it and I just need time. These are some of my pieces that I've been making. I made a bunch of these. I absolutely love them. So these are some of my portrait art pieces. They're 2-color, they are knit. And the image is from a drawing I did that I then glitched, and then I knitted it up on the knitting machine in 2 colors. And then I have them hanging from a little piece of wood. And then the back, I have some interfacing on it to keep it nice and clean. But I have a whole bunch of those that are gonna get ready for exhibition. I have an exhibition in Chicago. I need to install it in, I think, 2 weeks, and I have 80 pieces that'll be going over there. So there's not a lot of art in my studio right now because most of them are packed up, ready to go to the show. This is a room divider that I actually picked up in the alley. You'll find that most of the stuff in my studio is secondhand. This was an alley find. What I did was I cleaned it, I stained it. I took foam core and I wrapped it in fabric, and then I glued it to the room divider. And now I can, use it like a corkboard and put out my artwork that's in progress. And then this wall next to it, I painted a nice clean white, and that's what I use for taking photos of all my pieces. So I set up a really good light and I take pictures of all the pieces there. Thank you so much for joining me on a tour of my studio. If you have any questions about anything that you saw, please let me know and I'll tell you what it is or where I got it. But yeah, like I said, most things in here are secondhand, purchased through thrift stores or estate sales or from the alley, from garbage day pickup. So yeah, but if you have any questions about anything or how I DIY'd, I'd be happy to share it with you. And thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one.